A lone Ukrainian steps forward with hands raised as a quadcopter hovers overhead. An FPV darts in from off-screen, striking a surrendering soldier, an act widely described as a war crime. A three-man Russian patrol breaks stride when an FPV slams into the middle soldier. Wounded, he points to his head, and the rear man answers with a bullet, ending his misery in a display of how ruthless Russians can be for the mission. A T-90 fires across open ground, trying to mask and reposition between shots. Something strikes from the Ukrainian side. The next frames show a sudden flash and the camera struggling to keep up. A modified turtle tank crawls forward beneath a metal shell, drones circling overhead. Its armor design faces a test from angles the crew cannot cover, while nearby troops also come under drone attack. This is real footage, no effects, just raw moments from the battlefield. Subscribe to stay updated on every frontline report and stick around to see it all unfold. Let's get into it. Drone footage from Ukraine's 43rd Artillery Brigade shows rounds landing on Russian positions. Shells strike homes and equipment, and each blast throws up dust and debris. Roofs cave in, walls break, and objects around the impact points are tossed aside. The camera follows several impacts in a row, keeping the targets centered as the shockwaves ripple outward. It is a simple record of heavy shells doing heavy damage. Reconnaissance drone footage from Russian sources shows a Lancet loitering munition diving in. The strike is presented as a catastrophic hit on two multiple launch rocket systems. Fire catches in the area, and thick black smoke can be seen. Smoke and fragments mark the impact area, while the camera holds the frame. The post calls the targets MLRS, and the footage focuses on the explosion. A Ukrainian T-64BV from the 59th Motorized Infantry Brigade rumbles across open ground before locking into position on the edge of Pervomaiska. Almost instantly, its cannon roars to life, shells slamming toward Russian positions. Overhead, an observation drone tracks the impacts, adjusting the aim as explosions ripple through enemy cover. Reports note the T-64BV did miss a few targets, something rare for this battle-tested machine. For the Russian troops who survived, it may have been their lucky day. Sources say another Russian squad attempted to bomb the tank, but failed. Reconnaissance video from the 214th Separate Special Battalion shows multiple drones converging on Russian positions near Zeleny High in Donetsk. The feed tracks targets from above as the swarm moves in. The approach, the drops, and the impacts come in sequence. The footage is presented as a coordinated attack with several drones working together. The camera stays steady on the trenches and dugouts as the strikes land. Reconnaissance drone footage from Russian sources follows a Ukrainian T-64BV moving along a road near Avdiivka. A rocket-propelled grenade flies in from the left and misses, striking a tree behind the tank. At the same moment, the T-64BV hits a landmine. The crew bails out and leaves the vehicle. According to the source, the disabled tank was later destroyed by a grenade dropped inside from a drone. Ukrainian drone footage tracks a Russian BMP-2 and its infantry as the vehicle rolls along a road. It hits a mine and shudders to a stop. Soldiers spill from the top and sides, some jumping, some tumbling to the ground. The driver exits with his jacket on fire. Men able to move run for cover, while several wounded remain in the open. One Russian tries to pull a casualty back when small munitions begin to fall around them from above. Drones continue to harass the scattered troops as the BMP burns down to a blackened shell. Drone footage shows a 3-man Russian team walking in column. An FPV drone hits the middle soldier and drops him. The trailing soldier moves to the casualty as the wounded man taps his head. The trailing soldier raises his weapon and shoots the wounded man once in the head, then continues on. The team resumes moving after the shot. Was caring for a wounded man too difficult, or was their mission more important? Footage from Ukraine's 77th Air Assault Brigade shows a Russian armored push halted on approach. Several vehicles are struck and disabled in sequence, and explosions mark the end of the lead elements. The attack stops in place as smoke rises from the road and field. The footage simply shows multiple vehicles hit and the advance ending under fire. A Russian dirt bike rider and a pair of UTV riders are tracked by a Ukrainian drone. The drone drops small charges onto the vehicles and near the men. The motorcyclist quickly leaves the bike and runs clear. The drone follows the machine and places hits until the bike is ruined. The UTVs also take strikes, and the riders are shown wounded and their equipment damaged. They are shown running to save their lives. The sequence focuses on the vehicles and the repeated drops until both the bike and the utility machines are no longer usable. Video from Ukraine's 47th Mechanized Brigade shows an M109 Paladin firing at a Russian hideout and mortar ammo points. Rounds land, and the second strike makes a larger blast, suggesting stored mortar rounds go up in a secondary explosion. The building and its yard disappear in smoke and debris. At about 0:40, what may be a body is seen thrown through the air. The camera holds the target area while the gun continues firing. Drone footage released by the Russian Pseudo-Platov drone unit shows an FPV strike on what appears to be a Ukrainian T-64BV. The attack run is dimly lit. It is unclear whether the tank was already disabled or still active when the drone closed in. At the front of the hull, there is a shape that some viewers say looks like a crewman. After the strike, the vehicle catches fire and flames and smoke can be seen. Russian sources report a precision-guided FAB-3000 bomb dropped on a suspected Ukrainian headquarters near Liptsy, Kharkiv. In the footage, the bomb lands in an open courtyard between buildings. The blast is massive and debris sweeps across the surrounding structures. The power of the detonation suggests heavy effects on anything close to the crater if the buildings were occupied. The camera holds on the impact area as dust and smoke spread through the block. The latest Turtle tank variant is shown under repeated FPV and drone-dropped munition attacks. The vehicle appears to be an older chassis, likely a T-55 or T-62, with the turret removed and a shelter of logs and steel plate built over the top. Strikes land again and again until the logs ignite beneath the plates. The crew escapes the burning vehicle and is then targeted by drones and can be seen dead. Other 2 burned bodies can be seen near the tank. Ukrainian forward observers use drones to track a Russian squad back to a forward patrol base. Using the same aerial view, they adjust artillery and mortar fire onto the area until the dwellings are destroyed. The corrections are visible as impacts move closer to the target. Ukrainian sources claim multiple Russians were killed. The sequence stays on the location as rounds continue to land and the structures break apart. A compilation from Ukraine's 82nd Airmobile Brigade shows a defense of a town in Kharkiv Oblast. FPV drones and indirect fire are used against Russian infantry in shattered buildings. The footage also reflects a shift, more reliance on FPV drones and less on concentrated artillery. The clips stick to strikes and short ground shots. Graphic footage from Ukraine's 30th Mechanized Brigade shows drone-dropped munitions striking Russian infantry on the Kupiansk front. The camera watches small charges fall into trenches and shell scrapes, then burst. The blasts cause severe wounds, burning, and deaths. The view stays above the targets as one drop follows another, with fragments and smoke repeating across the line. A Russian T-90 fires at Ukrainian positions and tries to shift between shots. The drone view tracks the tank as it works, then a sudden strike ends the sequence. The blast comes from the side facing the Ukrainian lines, and possibilities mentioned include another tank's round, a mine under the forward track, or an anti-tank missile. The result is a shattered hull without a turret. Flames are getting higher, and smoke spreads around the wreck. A compilation from Ukrainian sources shows drone-dropped fragmentation grenades used against Russian troops in the field. The clips focus on sudden falls of small munitions and the blasts that follow. Troops are harassed, injured, and killed as the drops continue across trenches and open ground. The sequence also underlines the renewed use of small explosives like hand grenades and 40mm rounds in this war. The presentation is direct and graphic. Ukraine's 47th Mechanized Brigade rolls out, on patrol with a Bradley IFV. Ukrainian reconnaissance drones had spotted Russian troops sheltering among the ruins of an abandoned village, and the Bradley locked on, ripping into the structures one by one. Footage from multiple angles shows the armored vehicle hammering the area. Sources say many of the Russian troops were killed. After the barrage, the Bradley shifts position. It crushes a hidden ground mine under its tracks, but shrugs it off. Video shows a Russian T-72B3M destroyed by a Ukrainian FPV drone. The FPV approaches the disabled tank and flies into the turret, giving a brief look at the interior. A second drone hovers overhead and records as the FPV detonates inside the hull. The blast ignites fuel and ammunition, and the tank erupts. The sequence matches other examples of T-72 losses in this war, with the interior cooking off and the vehicle breaking apart. Helmet cam footage from Ukraine's Azov 3rd Assault Brigade shows a soldier taking the brunt of a grenade blast. He is then shown receiving treatment for his injuries. Later, he appears with a tourniquet applied to the distal portion of a bandaged arm, which suggests the wound was treated as potentially life-threatening.
От гранаты спасался. Так, запись идет. Я ебать, благополучно затрехсотился.
Венхер на связи, кто вызывает?
Любимые побратимы. В камере наполовину. Плохо, короче. В общем, как-то так, подписчики.
Drone footage records a Russian 3-vehicle armored assault driving forward under fire. Top-down javelin strikes hit all three in quick sequence. The lead tank survives the first hit and immediately begins to reverse. The two armored personnel carriers ignite. In the top right of the frame, a pair of Russian soldiers, fully ablaze, dismount and run. Ukrainian sources state the attack was repelled by the 425th Assault Battalion near Solodke, Donetsk, along the Vuhledar front. Russian forces are shown attempting a large armored assault with tanks and BMPs. The attack meets heavy resistance from Ukraine's 46th Airmobile Brigade. Multiple vehicles are knocked out according to the sequence presented. The editing suggests Russian improvised anti-drone armor may offer some effect, as many clips cut immediately after impact. In the last shot, a vehicle catches fire, and the footage ends with thick black smoke coming from it. Reconnaissance footage from Ukrainian sources captures an FPV drone striking the rear of a disabled tank. A Russian soldier arrives at the same moment and is caught by the blast. His clothing ignites, and as he runs away, a smoke trail follows. The clip is short and direct. Approach, impact, and the immediate aftermath for both the vehicle and the nearby soldier. Footage that has circulated in both Russian and Ukrainian spaces shows a Ukrainian soldier stepping out with hands raised as a drone hovers. Two narratives are attached to the same clip. The Ukrainian perspective is that Russian forces used the drone to draw him out under the pretense of allowing a surrender, then killed him with an FPV drone. The Russian perspective is that he was attempting to surrender to them when a Ukrainian FPV drone killed him to prevent the surrender. The video does not resolve the dispute. That's today's raw footage. No filters, no fluff. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and tell us what you noticed in the comments. See you in the next report.